Hello there, and welcome back. Or maybe I'm the one who should apologize for being away for so long. Sorry about that. Anyway, Elemental, the newest addition to Pixar's grand and magical library about a city of anthropomorphized, let's call them forces of nature. As in, the citizens are all made up of the four basic elements, Greek elements: fire, water, wind, or clouds, as they actually are in the movie, and earth, or um, Groots. Essentially, they're all like uh, walking, talking trees and stuff. Anyway, so in this city, a fire element falls in love with a water element, and they're gonna have to deal with all the conflicts, issues, and baggage that goes along with things like that. As you can imagine, fire, water, or is kind of like oil and water. So, if you're like me, then going into this movie, you probably thought that this was going to be, like a West Side Story kind of romance dealing with issues of, dealing with allegories of race and, yeah, story like that. But while there are elements of that in this movie, there's also a bunch of other stuff going on, a bunch of other themes. Like right off the bat, there's it's dealing with a theme of immigration, immigrants, specifically this fire couple who just comes to this like elemental city, about to give birth to a daughter, and then they're gonna have to deal with the culture shock, cultural differences, and then the newborn daughter, the main character, has to deal with generational issues, taking over the family business, trying to uphold the family's culture, legacy, and all that kind of stuff. In addition to falling in love with this person, and that romance being frowned upon specifically by the parents. So yeah, it's kind of like a Zootopia meets Avatar: The Last Airbender meets a Guess Is Coming to Dinner kind of story. And yeah, so even though there's a bunch of stuff going on in this story, in addition to that interracial kind of romance kind of thing, and the allegories of race, which, like I said, there's definitely elements of that there, but it's not as in your face as I expected it to be. And what helps hold everything, all this together, even though it's dealing with all these bunch of different things, is that the story keeps it focused around one central character, and that is the fire element, the daughter, the girl in this love story, and all the stuff that she has to go through. They really do a good job of helping you emphasize and really be in this character's shoes, and letting you feel the struggles that she's dealing with, with all the stuff that's happening. And so, yeah, in that sense, the story here, it's strong, centered around a strong protagonist. And in addition to that, with a story like this, there's also an expectation of some interesting world building, which this movie certainly has. A lot of that. In world building, all the really fascinating stuff is in all the little details. So, and some of the most interesting, so there are a lot of interesting things that I found from watching this movie in terms of its world, like these fire elementals, they eat kindling to help keep themselves strong. They feed their fire babies what's it lighter fluid instead of baby formula, and yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm talking about a lot about the fire elements because they are the main characters. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting little details that you probably noticed as you watch the movie, but it's not all interesting. There's for every fun little thing that you see in the story, where there's also some really um, yeah, not so interesting, some really cliche kind of things, like At one point, they go to this like sports game involving these air elements, the cloud people, as I mentioned, and what they're playing is really just basketball, except without a court, because they're clouds, so they're actually floating, and the hoops are in the air, but they're essentially just playing basketball, just as cloud people. And there's also just their names, like the main characters' names, it's just Ember for the fire girl, and Wade for the water for the water guy, and Bernie is the father's name, the fire elemental. So yeah, those punny names. It's a very obvious, kind of. But yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. With the world building and also with the story and the characters, because as I said, like the story is held together by focusing on the journey of the girl protagonist, but of course, with that, the other side of this romance, this relationship, the water guy. Yes, so his story, his character is kind of like not as well developed because of how much focus they're giving to the fire girl. And this character is he's this overly sensitive crybaby, a trying to super idealistic, trying to be optimistic, kind of dude. Yeah, so the romance is initially based on um, the that they're polar opposites. One's very fiery, temperamental. The other's just very in touch with his emotions, wears his emotions on his sleeve. Yeah, likes to cry a lot into a puddle of water, which he is, just with some form. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of personality there with this character, but there's not a lot to like in some like for some people probably get a bit annoying, and I can understand. There's not a lot to latch onto with this character. Like even though he talks about some of the struggles he's going through. He recently lost his father in the story at the beginning of the story, but they tell you these things, but you don't really feel it. And there's other things like you get to know his family, and it's a very close knit, very lighthearted, very loving family. But and all when you do meet them, it's nice, but there's not a lot of depth to this character and the stuff surrounding him. It's very shallow. Yeah, there's another pun for you. So yeah, that's another issue with this movie, and also going back to the world building stuff. They like obviously to make this world feel real, they obviously take a lot of inspiration from a lot of other cultures. Going back to the fire elemental culture, they really take a lot of inspiration from like South American culture, Native American culture. There's even some uh, Asian culture mixed in. You probably notice as you watch the movie, but yeah, there's a lot of these mix of cultures, and it's a little jarring. There's it kind of makes it so that there's not a strong, solid, focused sense of identity to all these things, and I guess that's kind of to be expected, I guess, because in order to make this world unique, they're gonna try to incorporate elements from a lot of different cultures, and but really strong world building can make you feel like yeah this story world is based on a lot of different things, but it's still entirely its own unique thing. And there's definitely unique elements of the world build of the story world in this movie, but yeah, there is in some ways too much familiarity with a lot of other cultures, and in some ways not enough depth because they're pulling from all kinds of different things. So yeah, it is kind of a mixed bag for this movie. So I suppose the best rating that I can give this movie is like it's a bronze with some shine, or a silver with some rust on it. Like it's a solid movie, a solid story with a solid main character and some unique elements to it. But another pun. But yeah, it's you've seen better. I've seen better, especially from Pixar. You know, it's been held up as this really giant in terms of animation and story, and rightfully so. But no, they're not infallible. No, they've had a few. Well, I hesitate to say stumbles because even though there's also films that you can point. There's obvious films that you can point to as being their worst. They don't really make bad movies, just not as good movies, and it becomes very noticeable because their best is like really top tier, the best. And with this movie, Elemental, it's more like in their middle ranks. There's strong elements there, but some things are not strong enough to help elevate it to some of the higher class status with Pixar. They do the movie does fall into a lot of the cliches that you expect from this kind of story. Like I said, um, while they're not as in your face with some of these themes and ideas. They do as the story goes along, they do kind of fall back into a lot of these cliches. Like even though some of these moments, some of these story beats, they don't do them exactly the same as some of the things that you're probably thinking, but it does still kind of play out in the same way. So yeah, I give this, once again reiterating the rating, either a shiny bronze or a rusty silver. So yeah, take that for what it is. So yeah, it's still a fun movie that you can probably bring the family to, or you can enjoy on your own. But it's not as great a Pixar movie as a lot of the others. So there you go. I hope you enjoy and stay tuned for more. Bye.